All right, folks. I'd like to thank everybody for joining and uh, celebrating this really exciting point of what I'm looking at as a beautiful journey with Elite Technical Concierge, the training and the coaching. A couple of years ago, quite a few years ago, I ended up meeting and working with Lisa Baker. Lisa Baker is has been and still is an inspiration to me with regards to leadership, how she manages and communicates. And I said, "Well, Mel, I'm going to start a business, or let me rephrase. I'm going to continue a business. I'm making my full time job. Who do you want to partner up with? Who would you want on your side that you can learn from, number one, but also pull in as a partner because they've also been through a journey and they've gone through a few things with regards to how they want to position what they want to do." And I said, let me reach out to Lisa again or reconnect again. This is a while back. She offered Leadership Circle 360 assessments. And I said, hey, at some point, I'm going to get certified. I'd like to partner up so that ETC can do this. So I said, Lisa, join me. Let's do this together. Let us do an assessment of me. And let's go through the process and showcase to people what we can bring to their organizations, what we can do as part of not just what everybody else does, but with our experience and what we've learned and what we've known to do, what we can tie in to an industry standardized Leadership Circle 360 assessment. So here I am proud to announce the first live streaming ETC Ascentium cast out here to the webs with my great colleague and friend, Lisa Baker. Welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mel. It's an honor to be here. It feels like we've been talking about doing this for such a long time. And so it's great to be able to do this together today and stream it so that others can benefit from the conversation. So thank you for having me today.
Yes. No, I've said it for the last whatever how many years. You came into an organization that we shared our experiences in, and immediately, one, you had a calming effect, but two, you had a very clear decision and decisive and control within minutes. I'm like, who is this lady? I'm like, I need to get to know her more. I'm like, so we continued our conversations, through COVIDs, through everything else. And I wanted to kick everything off with you. And this glorious experience that you were able to help me and share with me with regards to the leadership assessment. Now, I'm a huge proponent for assessments all day long, right? You've got Gino Wickman, you've got everybody else who says assessments are incredible, this, that, and the other, and you've got to take them. You got to do introspective work, which I'm a huge proponent of. So I've done them all, right? I've done the Enneagrams, the Myers-Briggs, literally all. I've done them over again. Unique Abilities was one that came closest to a Leadership Circle 360 because what you do is you do an outreach, you get feedback, you get actual tangible pieces. So we said, let's put this to the test. So I reached out to, I think it was 17 folks to get feedback. A good chunk of them did respond. And we've gone over these. And a couple weeks ago, I was this close to just pushing out that video. But we said, let's do this live so that people can get some of my reactions, but also really kind of learn what a condensed, shortened version of what we could do within their organizations or individuals for. And I will say to everyone who responded to my Leadership 360 assessment, it was heartwarming. It was beautiful. And I would love, Lisa, if you can kick us off into how you'd like to start this, because I may have to go off camera completely. I did, by the way, have to stock up because I wanted to make sure that I was ready for this call. I'm just saying. So if I'm going to leave it in your worthy hands at this point. So thank
Yeah.
you for
Oh, it's my pleasure. Listen, I love the Leadership Circle profile. I think it offers really an in-depth 360 degree feedback. 360 meaning your boss, colleagues, people who are at your peer level, and your subordinates all have an opportunity to respond to the survey. And then also you can include others, family members, friends, people who you don't work with every day, but who are close enough to you who can provide some input. And what I thought I would do, Mel, is to share my screen, and I'm going to share just an overview of what the Leadership Circle profile. I get through that. And of course, we'll share your results. And thank you for being open and willing to share your specific results with everyone. But I thought I'd just give an overview for those who may not be familiar with the Leadership Circle as to what it is, how it works, so we understand how to read the data that's there. And then I'll share your specific results, and then I'll stop sharing and we can just have a conversation about what it all means in terms of leadership effectiveness. Does that sound good? Hopefully you can see my screen, Mel. Tell me that I am sharing and then we'll move forward. Can you see my screen, Mel?
You're good. We're good. Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's dive right in. So as I said, it's a 360 degree feedback, meaning you got peers, subordinates, et cetera, who can provide feedback. And we talked about the benefits, right? So that you can really focus in on what your core competencies are, get feedback from those who have an opportunity to see you from various perspectives, so you know how you're showing up. Often there can be a disconnect between how we see ourselves and how others see us. So doing the Leadership Circle profile is a great opportunity to see how others view your leadership brand, how you're showing up. And then you can see where there's gaps in your understanding or awareness. So the Leadership Circle profile, and this is a blank profile, and so I just want you to see it without any data in it just yet, to get a visual that it is in fact a circle. In fact, there are several circles. You see at the very core is an inner circle, which is your identity. This is really who you are as a leader. This is about your beliefs and behaviors and how you show up as a leader. Then there is this inner circle, if you will, and then there's a broader outer circle. I'm going to tell you what all of this means shortly, but I just want you to get the lay of the land right now. And then on the outside, you'll see these four charts. This is kind of summary data. We'll go here, and I'm going to go into more detail so that you'll know what all of this means, and then we'll look at some results. Okay, so if you think about the top half, if we were to cut the circle in half and look at the top, think of these as creative competencies. These are going to be leadership competencies that most correlate to leadership effectiveness and business performance. And they are on this inner circle. You'll see relating, self-awareness, authenticity, system awareness, and achieving. And then you'll see some things on the outer circle, but those are your creative competencies at the top half. This correlates to long-term effectiveness as a leader and for your business performance if you are operating in the creative competencies. The bottom half of that are more reactive styles. These are going to be self-limiting beliefs and behaviors as a leader that can be effective in the short term, but with a high cost on the leader and potentially on your team and the organization in terms of energy. It can be draining to yourself and to your team when you're operating in a reactive mode versus leveraging your creative competencies, which is going to be most effective, most energizing. We can also divide the circle in half the other way. The left side of the circle being people-oriented competencies and the right side being task-oriented competencies. So that's a way that you can think of the left side, people focused, right side, task focused. Okay. Now, let's go a little further. We can also divide this into 4 quadrants. If you think of the upper left, these people-oriented and creative. Bottom, people-oriented but reactive. Go over to the right side, task-oriented but creative, or task-oriented and reactive. So that's how we can think about breaking up the various components of your leadership circle. Now, these are results filled in.
Hey, Lisa,
Again,
let me just jump in real quick. So I'm seeing one static image, which is only the first page.
So this is
so
interesting because you're not seeing my slides advance.
No, it's kind of stuck up. Let me remove it and then just re-add it. Yeah. Now, yeah, we're still at the first page.
This is not okay. Well, that's a bummer. Okay,
there we
so
go.
let's
Now
stop. Let's see what's going on. Okay,
now
so let me go back and let's just see. We are updating now. Okay. All right. So what you should be seeing theoretically is a slide that says leadership circle profile graphic. It's just a blank leadership circle profile. Yes?
Nope. I see people and tasks.
Wow.
It does not want to behave with us today.
So that must mean that there is a significant lag or something, because that's not the slide that I'm on. Really interesting. Well, I think what we're going to do is let me come out for a second. And what I'm going to, and I'm going to stop sharing for a moment.
Okay.
And we will try to do this again. Really interesting. You know, technology, modern technology, when it works the way we expect it to, it is a beautiful thing. But then when it doesn't, right?
I wish I knew somebody who was technical that could help out with this.
Right. We're not going to let this deter us, though, because I think the main thing, what I would love to get to, if I can get it to share, because I can talk through what it all means by sharing your results, Mel. And so let me just see if we can fast forward and show your results. If we can get that to show. Are you seeing a slide that says Mel Reyes?
Nope.
Nope. Well, then that's no fun. All righty. We're gonna try this one more time. And what I'm gonna do this time is, let's see if this will make a difference. Tell me what you see now.
Let me add it to the stage. Now we're cooking with Crisco.
Okay, so you see the slide that says Mel.
Yep. Can we go full screen on this sucker to make it larger, because it's really, really tiny?
So it is full screen on my side, which is also really interesting that it's not showing up full screen for you. This is really it's unfortunate, and we practice this, but that's okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to just talk about it and what it looks like, and then if we can certainly post an image of this later for folks to see, and I'm happy to talk through it. But so the interesting thing, again, let's just look at this line that goes across the middle and half. Top of the chart, creative competencies. Bottom half, reactive tendencies. Okay, so creative corresponds to leadership effectiveness and business performance. Bottom half is going to be reactive, is going to be self-limiting, takes a high toll on the organization. When you're in your most creative competencies and you're operating from that space, you're effective as a leader, your team operates more effectively, the business performance is going to therefore follow from that. And so you can expect a high performing organization. When we're operating in our reactive tendencies, while it can be effective in the short term, it's very draining, and long term will have a negative impact on you as a leader, on the team, and therefore the organization. Around the outside, you'll see these bars that really correspond to, they're summarizing the data, all of the data that's within the chart. So if we're talking about relationship again, which is, so relationship to the left side, more people-oriented things, right side is more task-oriented functions. So let's get that bearing. So top creative, bottom reactive, left relationship oriented, right side task oriented. And then as we were talking about the inner circle, so if we look at for a moment authenticity, which is here in the middle, and we wanted to know what makes up authenticity, we would go to the outer circle and we would see that authenticity is made up of integrity and courageous authenticity. And that's the same going around the circle. The outside explained what is comprised of, what the inside circle is comprised of. So what I wanted about your results, Mel, if I just go around for a moment, the shaded areas of green represents your responders' results, what the sum total of your responders and what they said about each of these components. The dark green line represents your self-evaluation. So when you see a gap, for example, if I look at self-awareness, in here, you'll see the dark green line is much lower than the shaded area. So that says that you rated yourself lower than the responders to your survey in this particular area. So that's how you can look at that. If you look down on the reactive side, you'll see a significant gap in some of these ratings as well. But for the most part, what it says to me is you're pretty self-aware as a leader, Mel, because there isn't often a very big gap between how the respondents to the assessment saw you and how you see yourself. What you'll also notice by looking at your chart is most of your green shading is at the top half or in the creative competencies. And so it should be no surprise then if we look around the circle, when we look at your relationship to creative balance, 100, your raters put you in the 100th percentile in terms of balance between creative versus reactive. So what that means is that you scored higher than 100% of global leaders who have taken the leadership circle profile. You are a highly creative leader. If we go and look at the top bar, which is summarizing relationship versus task orientation, you'll see here that your evaluators rated you higher than 84% of leaders globally who have taken the leadership circle profile. So over 2.5 million people around the globe have taken this assessment. There is a normalized pool of leaders representative of all leaders whom you're basically being evaluated against. And this is the one 360 where I think we get that opportunity to compare how you show up as a leader with leaders around the globe. Again, rated very highly, Mel. When we come around here to the right side, this leadership potential utilization, that's taking in all of the data within your leadership circle profile, all of the creative versus reactive, all the relationship versus task data. And it says, how well are you utilizing your potential as a leader? Well, you are using your potential very well because your raters rated you at the 99th percentile, which means that 99% of the people who take the leadership assessment profile score lower than you do. Stated another way, 67 and higher is considered a high score. 33 and lower is considered a low score. You scored very high as a highly creative leader who has a good balance between relationship and task-oriented competencies. So therefore, it should be no surprise then that when we look at the reactive scale, you don't have a lot of green shaded here. Now, the one thing that's unique here is this bar at the bottom, leadership effectiveness. That is a score based on just 5 questions in the leadership circle profile. No surprise here. Again, you're highly rated there in the 99th percentile, again, in terms of your leadership effectiveness. It's looking at things like how well you lead. So are you the kind of leader that people want to follow? Does your leadership help the organization thrive? Overall, are you considered very effective as a leader? Those are the questions that go into leadership effectiveness, and you rate it very highly on that, Mel. And it's why I said when we did our in-depth debrief of the survey, I said, you're kind of a unicorn when it comes to leadership. I have done many leadership circle profiles and debriefs, and I have not come across a leader yet who rates so highly across all dimensions in terms of being a creative and very balanced and effective leader.
I'm trying to stay stable here, Lisa, but it's the same reaction I got 2 weeks ago. I hope everybody realizes I don't know how to game the system. Right. So this isn't a Mel knew what questions to ask and answer. And I think on the surface, if I looked at this, right, if I was anybody listening to the outside, I'd be like, who did he pay to give him the right answers? So I think the validating point for me, because again, I've done assessments like these before, not this one, but like these. I think the most validating piece for me wasn't necessarily the beauty of not being in the bottom green and being on it was the comments.
Mm-hmm.
The comments, and I may have to go offline if you start reading any of them, because I will start to cry. Right. I think the comments are what was most impactful for me. And
yeah, that's the beauty of the leadership circle profile, Mel, quite candidly, is that you not only get you're going to get the raw data, so you know exactly how you scored yourself and how all of the evaluators scored you across all of the areas. But you also get the verbatim comments, which I find to be perhaps the most helpful and most impactful, because you're going to get feedback on what you do well. That's part of what is asked. What's your greatest leadership asset, skill, or talent? And it's open-ended, so people can write whatever they want. But you're also going to get feedback on areas of opportunity, because your evaluators are also asked, what's the greatest leadership challenge or area of development? And so, I mean, quite candidly, you can look at the raw scores, you can look at the percentile, so you see where you rank compared to leaders globally, which I think is very cool. But then you get the verbatim comments, and I think when people take the opportunity to do that, it's extremely helpful. So what I saw consistently across your verbatim comments, and I'm just going to read a sentence or two from a few. One says, Mel is very caring, gifted, talented, team builder, and leader. Mel's greatest leadership asset is his passion for contributing toward a better world. Mel's most significant leadership asset lies in his genuine interest and effort in understanding the individual needs of his team members and assisting them in overcoming their challenges. That's just a few. You are very fortunate, Mel, in that you had a high number of responders, which is also great, because what that says then is these results can be counted on. It's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. You had, over 11 people who, well, let me just ask you this question. The evaluators that you selected, did you tell all of them that you told them individually, right, that they would be participating in this for you? They didn't each know who the others were. No. So that means that they didn't have an opportunity to collaborate or collude and say, okay, let's give Mel really great scores. Right? So it stands to reason that these are independent evaluators who rate it based on their experience of you as a leader, whether as you being their boss, you being a colleague, peer to peer with them, or them having managed you. So you can trust the results. And because you had a good number of respondents, that also means you can trust the results. If it's just one person, well, that's just one person's opinion. 11 or more independent raters who gave you feedback.
I'm glad those 11 Venmos cleared.
They also gave you feedback in terms of where you can improve, right? So someone said that your primary challenge appears to be managing the high demand, and that occasionally results in you overbooking, right? And then you need to reschedule.
No.
So very balanced, right? Someone else said that you've improved leaps and bounds over the years, but your greatest challenge is in ensuring that you're taking enough time to step away and simply enjoy the fruits of your hard work.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
how else to
I'll read one
respond.
more so that we have three positive. And someone said that Mel's leadership journey presents an opportunity for growth in empowering his team members by being less involved. He often focuses so much energy on coaching and being there for his team that he can lose the impact of learning to swim. Those are verbatim comments from people who evaluated you. So what they're saying to you is this, Mel, you are a highly creative leader. You do an excellent job of balancing people-oriented competencies and task-oriented competencies. But you need to step away, slow down, learn to delegate so that you can be even more effective.
I can't slow down. I can delegate, but I'm not slowing down. Okay, I refuse.
That's what they're saying. And so in the few times when you do shift down, so to speak, into those reactive tendencies, it shows up mostly in one particular area of the competence of the reactive tendencies, and that's in controlling behaviors.
No.
Being driven or having the need to be perfect. That's where it shows up.
We could take this offline. I'm gonna deny all of it. And then we could write down a very detailed list of what that means, and then we can refine it, and then we can beat it up until the nth degree. No, I actually do receive that last one very, very well.
Yeah. So that's how you're showing up. That is your brand as a leader, being, again, very creative. As I said, kind of a unicorn in my perspective in terms of results that I've seen, in terms of how highly creative you are, which means, and let me say that differently, you're a highly effective leader, because that's what the creative competencies correlate to, being an effective leader who's going to drive business performance. And that's why we need people who are operating from those creative competencies most often. We all are subject to fall into our reactive tendencies under stress, maybe, right, in times of difficulty and pressure. But the idea is that we spend the majority of our time, above the line in those creative competencies, whether we're doing people-oriented things or task-oriented things.
So I agreed to this because of the emotional impact that the words and the verbatims threw at me, but I also wanted to kind of throw out there, I would have done this if it was ugly, right? If I was on the bottom half of this, because I think the most important thing is, and I post about this all the time, is I want to make sure everybody understands how to be vulnerable, right? How to showcase to the world, to your teams or anybody else, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I do it, here are my values, here are my views. So had there been a lot of other jarring things that I would have not accepted, I still would have had this stream. And I think the most important thing for anyone who's listening is, I'm not, part of this, yes, humble brag, sure, but this is part of a discovery component for me, an introspective component for me, a learning component for me. I've been doing this for 5-10 years, trying to make sure that I do my assessments, unique abilities, and everything else. I've gone through all of these in order for me to refine what I do, right? And there may be people on this in this session that are listening who are subject to my precision and control components, in the past versus now. And I'm not going to deny them, but I will say I've probably gotten better about them and identifying it, triggers and things along that line. But the most important thing, as I'm seeing this for people and organizations, is the awareness.
Yeah,
You don't
absolutely.
know what you don't know. We
Yeah.
talked about perception versus reality. It's one of my 5 V's in views, right? That's the first one in views, right? What do you see versus what do other people see? And unless you ask, and unless you have somebody who's tangibly walking you through what the results are, you're going to be in some plane where you're not matching the rest of the world. And I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty of this.
It's kind of like the emperor walking around with no clothes on, right? Thinking that he's fully dressed.
Mhm.
We as leaders in organizations have to, it's incumbent upon us truly to create a culture within our teams, within our organizations where people
Right.
are comfortable and confident in sharing feedback. And it starts with us as leaders being willing to hear feedback. The unfortunate thing, though, is that the higher up you go in an organization, the less feedback you tend to receive. Right.
Yeah.
And, I've been in those executive ranks, and you start to get less and less feedback because there can be a bit of a fear factor, so to speak. Who's going to
Mhm.
tell the CEO that his or her behavior is draining the organization?
Right.
Who's
Right.
brave enough to do that, right? It could be considered a career limiting move. And so that's
Mhm.
why we as leaders have to create that culture in which it's okay and welcomed even that we are allow ourselves to be vulnerable, that we're asking for feedback, and that we are really being candid with people about how they show up and how that impacts the business. Because ultimately, creative leaders or highly effective leaders are going to drive business performance, and we're all about that.
Right. Right.
So I think that's the beauty of this. And I tell people there is no good or bad leadership circle profile. Your results are your results. And wherever you are, even if you are a highly creative leader, there's still going to be room for improvement, things that you can work on. Even
Yeah.
if it shows that at this moment in time, you are a very reactive leader. That's good news. You now know that, and you can look at
Right.
how that's showing up. You can work with someone like me or someone like Mel, who are executive coaches, and create a leadership development plan that's based on your specific results right now so that you
Right.
can grow in those areas. And that ultimately is what it's all about. Feedback, honest, candid feedback is truly a gift.
And anyone that knows me, uh, and Lisa, from our conversations, um, I see people, I see where they're at, I see how they're doing things, and I'm all about feedback. I'm all about, the candid feedback. I'm all about the constructive feedback. I'm all about, and what I love about these assessments is it's not just a formulated way to give you a character sense. This is real feedback from people that have been in your sphere,
Yeah.
right? Up, down, over, left, right, or otherwise. And that's what's most important, right?
Mhm.
Perception versus reality. Are you getting that feedback? Because if you don't have that, your master plan and vision could be a map to nowhere.
Yeah, it becomes a derailer, right? If you don't have that
Right.
insight. And you and I've talked about this, and I talk a lot about transformational leadership. And highly creative, highly effective leaders are the kinds of people that we need in today's volatile, uncertain world that we're living in to really be able to drive and champion change and push organizations forward in a positive way. And so the more we can discover about ourselves as leaders and kind of work on those areas and understand our own limiting beliefs and behaviors, right? So that we can test where is that coming from so that we can create new beliefs and behaviors that are more empowering, that are more creative. That's how we're really
Right.
going to transform self first, inward, inside out, toward others. That's really where it
Amen.
all begins. And so if there are folks who are listening who, would love to do an assessment and have their own feedback, I'd be honored to go through this journey with them. It's a very in-depth process that takes quite a bit of time. So we, allow time for your evaluators to provide the feedback. Then we do a debrief, and it's an in-depth, a 90-minute debrief that we go through. And then I'll often also add a follow-up session where after you have time to kind of sit with the results and take in all of the feedback to where we can create a leadership development plan that really is helpful in terms of moving you forward to becoming a more effective, more transformative leader.
I love this. I love this. And what I will say is to motivate everybody and get everybody off their arses is you just have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You have to start somewhere. I just posted this today, right? What's stopping you, right? What's stopping you from going to that next level? What do you need? You need somebody kicking you in the ass to get there? Do you need a self-assessment? Um, Lisa, I cannot thank you enough because obviously a couple of weeks ago you had me much more emotional than I was trying to hold myself together on this call. But um, the beauty of it is to be able to partner up with leaders like you on a journey that we're both on to be able to kind of improve the lives of people, the lives of teams, companies, company
Mhm.
culture. So to me, this is a blessing. So thank you. And everyone who's out there who will catch this after the fact or otherwise, just know that Lisa and I are here to help. And if anyone's interested, Lisa has been doing this for quite a bit, and I can attest to the leadership style and the quality that she brings to the table. And reach out to her directly, or reach out to me and partner up with me. Either way, Lisa, any parting words as we head off into the sunset?
Yeah. Well, listen, I just want to again say thank you, Mel, for allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to show your results, because I think it sets the tone and is a great example that we as leaders can sort of do first and show our teams that it's okay to be vulnerable and to allow yourself to be seen, and to get that feedback so that you can improve. So thank you for that. And finally, I would say again, for anyone who is listening that wants to kind of start this journey of discovery for themselves, I would be happy to connect and go through this process with them as well. And certainly for executives, I'll just make a plug for my friend Mel, right, who really want to learn to lead at an executive level from someone who is now demonstrably, with qualitative and quantitative data, a very highly creative, results oriented leader. They could not go
Thank
wrong
you.
in working with
Thank
you,
you.
Coach Mel. So thank you.
I cannot wait to continue our journey and our path with just the leadership circle pieces alone. Um, having been certified in global disc assessments, which is a true measurable, modernized way of looking at disc, as well as for myself and the introspective work that I've done through Myers-Briggs and Enneagrams, everything from Reiki to all of the different pieces that I'm currently in training for or and pushing all of these. are part of the development process that we all should look into, of when we fall into those gaps and into those pieces, or we know, or we have a feeling that we think we're doing everything right, but it's still not working.
Yeah.
Do the research, reach out to folks like Lisa and I, and let's try to figure out how to get you on a path that is going to jettison you way above where you're at, 10x your mindset, whatever the hell you want to, high performance, all the other BS that everybody talks about. No, we need real tactical people who've done this, who've lived this. You and I have gone through the dramas and the traumas. So we know that from an executive presence standpoint, that's cute. But from a tactical and an executive presence standpoint, we know how to get things done. So thank you for being an incredible, incredible soul and a great friend, and for sharing with me this. I will say, I don't know if there are any questions that are out there or whatnot, but anyone who, again, wants to reach out to Lisa, she's there all day, every day, just like I am. And, for me, you know where I am, and I will keep throwing it out there, just like I threw out the survey yesterday. You want me to post less on LinkedIn? Hire me so that I'm too busy to post. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's great.
So,
Thanks again.
looking forward to our next elite leadership session. This was the first of the live streaming sessions that are going to continue. I've already started to line up other guests, different topics. For anyone who's going to be at Black Hat or B-Sides, we were going to be live streaming every day during the middle of the day, different topics, different people. So reach out and find me. I will be just hitting the landscape of all the different events in September for my birthday. I will be with C-Vision. We're just going to continue every possible group and every possible piece to get the message out there on how we can all be effective leaders. Obviously, my specialty is IT and cybersecurity, but having worked with CFOs and CEOs and others, knowing the caliber of the clients you've had, Lisa, just let's tag team everyone. Let's get Lisa and I out there into your organizations to make demonstrable improvements across the culture. So thank you. Looking forward to our next connection, Lisa. And thank you, everybody who showed up. 45 minutes. I'll give you 15 minutes of your life back so you guys can go through and do what you need to do. Stay blessed, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.